And in the meantime, we are going to the Middle East, to stay in the Middle East, because our guest today is someone who has come to prominence in the media in recent months as a former Israeli Air Force pilot who is now a very fierce critic of Israel's operations in Gaza. Guy Poran is a peace activist, and he's a member of the organisation Mistaklim, which describes itself as looking the occupation in the eyes. The organisation works in the West Bank, in the occupied territories, and Guy Poran now joins me on the line from Tel Aviv. First of all, thank you so much for being with us here on France 24. We very much appreciate your time. It's good to talk to you with you, Mr. Poran. Before we move on to talk about the West Bank, the occupied territories, I wanted to ask a little about Gaza. You are the person who spearheaded, with others, a movement earlier this year calling on Israeli reservists not to sign up because of the way the war was being conducted in Gaza. What kind of reaction did you get to that? Can you tell us a little bit about what happened afterwards?
Sure. Thank you very much for the invitation. As a matter of fact, the petition that I've initiated along with my friends, ancient Israeli Air Force pilots, was calling for the immediate making of a deal with Hamas, which will include the release of hostages and stopping of the war, and emphasize the fact that the war at this stage is merely for political and not for security reasons, and that it is causing the death of our hostages there, soldiers, and many, many thousands of innocent Palestinians. The petition that we've launched was 1,200 ex-Israeli Air Force pilots have signed it, but it was immediately followed by many other reservists of branches of the IDF, and then following by many civilians. Overall, over 150,000 have joined the same call, the same petition.
So to understand it correctly, it was a petition, but you weren't, there were not many reservists who actually said, I will therefore not turn up for duty.
There were, over the past few months, especially when the new phase of aggression started in Gaza, many more, something that we've not seen in the early stages of the war, many more reservists have announced that they are not going to be participating. In other words, if they're called, they will not show up. This is mainly with the ground forces, with the infantry. Not so much with the Air Force pilots, although now recently we see some demonstrations in front of the Air Force bases asking the pilots not to participate in the bombing.
Now, in, for example, France, Britain, it's very hard to avoid pictures of the plight of Palestinians and commentary about it on social media, on news programs. Of course, in Israel, not everybody speaks English. The news programs do not necessarily cover what happens in the Gaza Strip in terms of the plight of Palestinians. So, you know, I'm interested in how aware ordinary Israelis are, because they don't all follow on social media, but also the fact that, you know, many Israelis have sons and daughters serving in Gaza. What do they come home and tell their families? How much do ordinary Israelis know about what we are seeing, are reporting about happening in Gaza?
Well, we do see it here. People are seeing it. As far as the flight, the movement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from place to place, and now recently out of the city of Gaza, is being shown on Israeli television and on social media. A lot of people are seeing it. But this is, this is part of the general feeling about the interest, the people in Israel, the vast majority are, according to every public opinion poll, are against the current stage of the war, between 65 to 75%. On top of that, the fact that the Israeli chief of staff has clearly expressed several times that he himself was pushing for a deal to be made with Hamas now and not this current offensive, is making it known in every home in Israel, and in every parent and every mother in Israel knows that the commander, the chief commander of her son in Gaza, is not satisfied with this current strategy. You can imagine what it does to the forces, because the Israeli soldiers out there and officers are all aware of this situation, and it must be very, very difficult dilemma for them. So I don't know. This is one of the chain of incredible difficult situations that the soldiers and the Israeli public has been forced to face in the last 2 years, with the policies of this government being driven, everybody knows, by very extreme right-wing ministers against the wish of the majority of the public. And so it's a very difficult situation, which you can see in the streets of Israel all the time, every day. Hundreds of thousands of people are demonstrating against it, are shouting out loud, are making, around their home, the residence of the prime minister, there are constantly major demonstrations, just like the one that you're showing right now. And it's all we can do. Israel is still a democracy. So on one hand, people are saying, and the army is saying, we have to do what the government that was selected is doing. But to have a government acting so long against the will of most of its people, it is something that's unbearable.
Well, I'd like to turn now to the situation on the West Bank in the occupied territories, because I know you'd like to talk about your organization, Mr. Clean, which is concerned particularly with the occupied territories in the West Bank. This is an organization trying to show Israelis what is going on there and document human rights abuses. Can you tell us, you've set up a protest camp, I'm not quite clear where that is. What do you do? How does it work? What do you want Israelis to open their eyes to?
Well, unfortunately, we're not talking about a very big organization. We're talking about several tens or several 70 to 100 people that are arriving constantly, 24/7, to accompany and be staying next to a small number of those Palestinian villages. We cannot cover the entire West Bank, where a lot of this harassment of settlers is happening constantly. So Mistaklim, which means looking at the occupation in the eye, is coming to several villages, staying with the shepherds there. And when those settlers that are coming to harass them are coming in from the settlements, we're trying to stand between them and the Palestinians. We're recording, as you said, what's going on, and trying to minimize the amount of damage that these settlers are trying to cause the Palestinians. Now, the reason why they do it is very simple. They want the life of those Palestinians to become unbearable so that they leave. And in some cases, unfortunately, they succeeded in making those villages give up and leave. Now, the unfortunate, something that we've never seen before the last few months or a year, is that the participation of the support of the government, especially again those extreme right-wing ministers, to those settlers, and the fact that the army itself and the police are restraining themselves from stopping those settlers, is creating a situation that we haven't seen before, whereby those settlers feel that they have, the support, the backing of the government to do whatever they want there. So they are not scared. They don't do it in the night. They go out there as if this is the general policy of the country, which should be applied.
Well, I'm afraid we're out of time there. Guy Poran of the organisation Mr. Clean, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us and your ideas and observations. I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Guy Poran there of Mr. Clean.